So, yeah, you guys know, so how many of you have read the books? Okay, so there's some pretty bad stuff that's happened to Mr. Peet. And so if he wants to try to think about them, sometimes his brain doesn't work right, and his heart doesn't work right, and it makes him think crazy stuff. That's why they're not able to kind of understand what's going on with him. And so adults use a term called post-traumatic stress disorder, which is PTSD. And when we talked to Ian, who is the actor for that, he was really key. I said, I want to be able to show Peet for the broken person that he is, and that when he gets close to trying to those really painful moments, that it causes him to kind of go off. And so, yeah, so we thought it'd be interesting to show it that way.
Did you guys notice that there's also the time, like Mr. Peet, when he talks, he gets his words wrong a lot, you know?
Yeah.
But there are a few times when he gets his words right. Did you notice when he was getting his words right? What was happening? What's that?
You said Jan.
He said Jan, but it tends to be whenever when he is rescuing the kids. When he says, she can ride on my back, she'll be safe long enough. Remember him saying that when he puts Lily down? There's moments where he's lucid and he's there.
And when he gets to the top of the tree and the kids are safe, he goes back to being bouncy and kind of loopy again.
Yeah.
You know, like, can you fly? So he goes right back to like, I did my job and now I'm back to being kind of.
Wasn't there one where he turned some words around? He said thwarted Lord instead of florid sword. Thwarted Lord. That's a clue there.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? Yeah.
I like when he ate leaves.
You like when he ate leaves?
Explain.
Sometimes wet. Yeah. Sorry. You want to go
I
first?
noticed that the children didn't get in jail.
They didn't. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the things that we kind of had to do when we were turning it into this series. In the books, in book one, there's like kind of a little bit of back and forth where like the kids are in jail for a second and then the parents are around and they're kind of all over it. And so we had to condense. And believe it or not, when I wrote the first draft of the first book, there was even more of that. Like there was this constant like back and forthness, and I was like, this could all happen in like a day. Why don't we just smash it all together? And we did that even more in the series a little bit. There's just you notice that more when you're seeing it on TV.
Speaking of, here's a tidbit. We had just entered a period that when we were in the writer's room, called The Longest Night. So we've just begun a series of events that will play out through the end of the season that just keep track of your time of day. Because there's a lot of stuff that happens in basically one day.
That's so true, I forgot about that.
Yeah, initially it was like all in one night, and it was like, we had to like, so you'll see, we can change that. Yeah, you had to think about like, wait, it's just the longest night ever.
Yes.
Are we going to watch any more?
I wish I could say yes. Well, episode 5 isn't quite finished yet. That's the thing.
Still working on it.
We're still working on it. And so we would love to have released them all at once, but it was either release them like we did it every couple of weeks, or it was make everybody wait until March to see any of it. So we decided to do it like this so that we could see bits and pieces.
And they,
Does Nugget's voice
is Nugget's voice a real dog?
Yeah.
Yes, in fact, one of the credits that came up was the name of, it's actually a dog or two, that Mr. Adam Craig, he's our sound guy. We spent a lot of time actually last spring and summer, he went to a bunch of farms, he lives in Connecticut, and got animals because we wanted animal sounds to be for like the cow and for Nugget, and some were actually animals that could perform, they could whine when they need to, and so they're in the credits. You'll see the animal creatures, and that's the ones who make the sounds for some of the.
I think one of the dogs is his dog, right?
And then he's augmenting with his dog a little further because we really want this kind of sound, and so it's like figuring out how to get that sound out. But yes, it's a real dog.
So that his whole job is to make all of the sounds that you hear in the thing, not the music, but the sounds. And so like when we had things like the Quill Diggle that shows up in this one, or the gamblotes that show up earlier, he just had to figure out what does a gamblote sound like. Because it doesn't sound like a goat. It sounds like a gamblote, right? And so he got to, I can't believe that, like one of my favorite things about this whole process has been realizing Oh, there's people who do that for a living? That's amazing. You get paid to do that. And so, yeah, it's just amazing. Like, I can just picture him tickling his dog with a microphone.
Yeah, it's a really scary moment when the Quill Diggle shows up, right? And Toto and everybody's like, oh no. Like, you know, Toto's a big fella, so you're like, this is a life-threatening something, right? And the first version of this, in animation, you kind of decide what the scale should be. And it came out, and it was like the size of a rabbit. It was not big. And it was like, nah, that's not going to work. Like, I'm not at all. It was really funny. And they scaled it to what you see here. Like, yeah, now I'm scared. You know? But we actually, I'm still sad about this. We had a really cool bit. It's a cutscene where after Poto has entered the forest, where he goes through some other battles with other creatures on his way, and that Quill Diggle was like the last of a bunch of series.
Oh, that would have been
he
fun.
falls in with another, like it's a great sequence, and he's like blaming Nugget for not helping him. You know? It's just really funny pirate and dog kind of thing, but we just didn't have time for it and cut out. So yeah, yes.
I'm writing a book. Do you have any tips?
Oh, I was just wondering. I heard that there is a original version of the black carriage scene in episode 1, and I was wondering if some of the bonus features would be released ever.
Ah. The original, do you mean the voiceover of the poem of the Black Carrots?
Yeah, that and, you know, all the cutscenes and stuff. Will that be shared eventually?
Oh, no. Well, I'm sure there will be bonus stuff, but it'll be more making of stuff. Because the thing is, with like the cut scenes are not scenes that we ever made. They got cut early in the process.
Okay.
Does that
Yeah,
make
we
sense?
might have a clip of
storyboard?
like an animatic that we might show. Like the
Okay.
Poto chasing, we actually have that in animatic, and it's pretty fun.
That'd be funny.
But it's probably not finished vocals.
But no, it's probably me sounding like Poto.
Yeah, it's like, so we'll do scratch vocals. I don't know if you guys care about this, but I think it's hilarious. That like when we're doing, so like in season 2, we're working on season 2 right now, and Claxton Weaver, who is the Strander chief that they meet, we don't know who's going to be the voice of Claxton Weaver yet. So when we're making the scratch, we're making animatics, which are just kind of doodle drawings of the show, so that we can kind of see what it's like. Chris will text me at like 4 in the afternoon and be like, "Hey, will you do these 12 lines from Claxton Weaver?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, sure." And usually I'm like out in the yard mowing. I'll get on my phone and I'll look at the thing and just read, "Arr, kid, rawr, you got me to get you the last thing I do." And I was doing it one time I was on tour and I was at a park. And in the middle of the day, and I had my phone out and I was doing Oscar. I was like, "Oh, hello, I hope you're well." And I looked up and there were like people staring at me. So then you send that in, and then they put these it's called scratch vocals into the show, just so you can see what it sounds like. And then you come back and do the real recording. So my point is, Chris ends up doing.
Yeah, so I do a ton of voices, but it's really funny. I don't do it publicly. I wait till all the kids are in bed. But given I was doing. Yeah, so I was doing one the other night, and we have our garage. One half of it is our other part of our production office. Anyways, and it's late at night. And Heather's my wife's parents live with us, and it was late, like 1 in the morning. Anyways, and I had some lines to record from episode 7 of season 2, which has some really dramatic moments. And so I'm down in the garage, yelling and screaming. I will do Janner scratch, you know, and there's some dramatic stuff that happens to Janner. "No, Sarah, no!" Like this kind of, and I'm in the garage. I'm like, if they wake up.
Calling the cop.
I want to tell you, you guys have met Charlotte before. This is Charlotte, our youngest daughter. So she does all the scratch voices. She does such a good job for Lily. And what we do is we put them in the animatics, and we can really get a sense of who that character is and what they need to do before we put the actor in the booth. And so thank you to Charlotte for helping make this.
He was also the voice of Lily in the short film that we put out a few years ago.
Yep. And Elijah used to be the voice of Tink, but he got older, and now it doesn't sound so.
Now he talks like Claxton Weaver.
Hey, so
The other end of the spectrum, it's when Vop dies. And it's because when that happens, you go, "Oh, that can happen in this story?" You guys know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
so how did everybody take that? Everybody okay?
Yeah.
'Cause we got a little violent. We're doing some killing.
Yeah, something
Okay.
happened in the Wingfeather Saga episode 4 that doesn't happen in Disney movies.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
try to be careful.
yeah, it's in the books. You read the books. There's quite a lot of violence that is about to happen, and so we've been going back and forth on this because in the next 2 episodes there's even more. And now, what happens when a Fang dies? Okay, but wait, did we show you?
Hannah, what were you gonna say? Do you remember?
So it's not like us when we die. Fangs, when they die, it's nothing left. It's nothing else but bones.
Dust and bones, and then the bones crumble and they turn to dust, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, Marvel Cinematic Universe stole that idea from us. So we had to come up with a way to visualize that, but not here. So we left that off screen for you guys. So the bop thing, we just kind of went camera.
We hadn't figured yet out how to do it.
Yeah, so in the next episode, you're going to see a lot of that.
But did you feel that when it happened? Was it kind of like, whoa, okay, so, yes.
Do you voice any of the characters in the story?
I do. Oscar Nostratik. That's I do his voice. And that's it, right? I don't think I do any other.
And then I do one of the things.
Yeah.
I did all the things, and now I just do one. I selected myself out of a job.
One fun thing, Amy Goodgame, Randall Goodgame's wife, is the one that says something like, "That ought to be easy to get them snatches," or whatever. That's Amy Goodgame, Slugs and Bugs guy's wife, if you know. And then Doug McKelvey, who wrote Every Moment Holy, is the scribe. And he says, "Give me a scribe," and he goes, "You bellowed." Like that's Doug McKelvey's voice, but actually they modeled the character on Doug McKelvey, so he kind of looks like
That's
a bald
funny.
version of Doug.
100%.
Pretty fun.
General Crack, who you get to hear again, he's so cool.
He was great.
That is Kellen, who plays Slarb.
I did not know that until this moment. I wondered who that was.
So on the live stream Friday, I'll actually be with Kellen. He's going to join us and talk about all his characters, and that's one that he does. It was funny, we were casting, we're like, here's the deal, I don't want to spoil it for you, but your character, Slarb, is not going to go forward in season 2. So we need to find another character, because we want to keep working with you. And he said, could you try for General Crack? And he read it with me. Yep, that's just wonderful.
That's the one.
Yeah, completely different voice. All right,
So,
you guys
any
good?
questions?